There's an old saying that goes like this: God did not create people equal, Colt did. And there's a new technology that seems to be doing just that right now. Nerd Nation. So the phrase that God didn't make people equal, Colt does, comes back from a time when in all throughout history, there have been bigger individuals have been able to beat up and wallop on smaller individuals, people that are strong, fit, tall, uh, are basically get their way with whatever situation. And the small individuals don't have the ability to defend themselves. Well, Colt came along and made the Colt Peacemaker, which changed the dynamic. Now it gave that smaller individual a fighting chance. So if you had a bigger individual, they have a Colt individual defending themselves, right? So that's what they mean by it being the great equalizer. Well, there is another technology that is doing that similar thing right now. So I just had a very interesting conversation with someone, and it got me thinking about some things. A while back, I had an interesting experience. I went to a friend's house, right? And we ended up traveling up to their family's house. Now, this family was completely wealthy and rich. And I honestly did not know what wealth really was. So I went up there with not expecting too much. I thought, well, they're just going to have a big house, they have a few cars. And I came away with a very unique and different experience. They were really nice, very humble, great people, right? But they lived a very different life than I have lived, as well as what most people, 99.9% of us, live. They had started in real estate. The grandfather had worked really hard and really did fantastic, made millions upon millions of dollars, right? So my experience, I went in there and they had everything you could imagine: an indoor theater, a 16-car garage. They had someone uh, washing their car every other week. Someone would show up. They had gardeners that did all the landscaping. They had a koi pond. Each one of those koi fish in that pond was over $5,000. And I was like half tempted just to take one of those fish and stick it in my pocket. Of course I didn't, because that would have been very of poor taste. But and I kind of all suspected, okay, well, they're probably going to have all those things. Like, obviously, if I had the money to someone to maintain my yard, I would do it, and would get done a lot better, more efficiently, more professionally done. But then there were some other things that kind of blew me away. One of them was one of the sons, and he was older, son in the sense that he was like 27, 28 when I met him, and he had a watch collection, and each one of his watches, the cheapest one that he had was $50,000, and my mind just blew up, right? And the most expensive he had was over $250,000, $300,000. I just could not imagine someone spending that much money for a watch, no matter how wealthy they were. And then there was another moment, and I noticed early on that all these individuals were healthy, they were fit, and they were in good shape. And I thought, well, that's really respectful that even though they have pretty much, they don't have to do all this stuff, they're still going out and they're working, and they're still keeping good care of themselves. But one of the things I found out was that they have a chef, professional chef, that comes in, cooks 3 meals a day, and alternating chefs. It wasn't just one chef, but they had multiple chefs, and cooks meals that are not only absolutely delicious, and I had every single meal, but are also really healthy with you, using better ingredients and using things that are going to be per a diet, right? A diet that was still fantastic food, right? But it was much easier to maintain that diet because someone was making that food for you, right? I'm working out in the Acadia 6-pack and 6 months deal, and I'm having to do my own diet, and I'm learning a whole bunch about that. Um, anyway, there was a lot of these interesting moments that I had never even known that people actually live this way. Another one that blew my mind was, and like I was saying, I'm not disparaging these individuals. They were really nice, down to earth, and humble, and very likely, if I had that wealth, I would do a lot of the same things that they did, right? Who wants to pull weeds in the yard? But the mom, she had what was called a professional shopper, something like that. I can't remember exactly what the title was, but this shopper knew all of her sizes, all the colors that she liked, all the stuff that she from stores uh, that she enjoyed, right? And the sizes, specific sizes to those stores, because sometimes sizes vary in stores. And this shopper would go out and buy all that clothing for that for the mom, and then they would come home and they would hang it up in this huge walk-in closet, right? Honestly, I could fit the entire my master bedroom in this closet. And so every day she woke up, there was a new or several outfits waiting for her. Now, when I say every day, like she wasn't putting clothes in every day, it was probably once a month, or I don't know exactly when it was. And not only did the clothes fit her absolutely perfectly, they were in her color and in her style and from the stores that she wanted either to support or that fit her the best. I had no idea such a thing even existed. And there were so many other things that I had learned about that I hadn't even conceptualized. A lot of this actually goes to in the second book of the Nickel Brickleby series. We see the elves, the elven society, and this happened. This experience happened just before I started writing the Elven Society, and it was influenced a lot of the Elven Society. This brand new perspective. So I got to thinking, and since I'm on this diet, one thing that a technology that's changed things is artificial intelligence. Now, hate it, love it, use it, don't. I will tell you what, it is enabling people like me, right, to reduce the complexity of life. And if you think about it, wealthy people have the same complexity and sometimes even more complexity in their lives, right? But they have the ability to hire individuals to basically take out that complexity. One of the probably unintended results of this is that this complexity is now being reduced on my level, right? I can afford a $20 chat GBT a month and Claude with Anthropic, right? And I have both accounts. But there's so much, for example, let me just give you an example because I'm sure some people are going to get a little frustrated that I'm talking about AI in this sense. I've never dieted before in my life. Right now, I am losing pounds very quickly. And it's not because I suddenly became a dietitian and I started doing all this research. That stuff has never interested me. But now I have almost a personal consultant with artificial intelligence that tells me I could take a picture of my food. I can say, hey, I ate this from McDonald's. I had this. What should I avoid? I take a picture of my food. If it doesn't know the exact calorie count, because let's say it's a food product that was online, it can become, or it comes scarily close to my actual calorie count and carbs and fats. Calorie counting is something I never thought I would ever do, had no interest in doing, right? But now I can do it so much easier. I take a picture of my food. It adds up all the calories for the day, and it takes out that massive complex system that I never even that I don't have time to deal with. Much in the same sense that for the wealthy individuals that I had met in California, that a dietitian was doing for them. But then there's other elements too. And I think this complexity is going to be much more reduced in many other lives, such as doing research for legal counsel. Now, and this might be controversial, I don't know if it is or not. There definitely is a different justice system in everywhere, not just United States, but everywhere. If you can afford the best attorneys, you can afford the best representation, you can afford these things, you can afford, and really what are you paying for, right? You're paying for someone to take on very complex problems and reduce them for you. So it's more consumable or that you can wade through that problem. If you are ultra wealthy in just about anywhere in the world, you can get away with so many things because you get the best attorneys. Let's say taxes is another good example. A lot of people say, well, the wealthy aren't paying their fair share. Well, the wealthy are paying the share most of the time that they are absolutely required to by the law. They're just able to hire these tax consultants, big brain tax consultants that take this really complex problem and they put it in such a way that they frame it in such a way where they are completely legal with how they are doing things, but they pay much less taxes. Because honestly, if I could do that same thing, 100% I would, right? Why would I want to pay more money to a government that is just a lot of times just throwing it out there and wasting it for things that I might not necessarily agree with, or all those things. Now, I'm not talking about roads, infrastructure, schools, and things like that, right? That's not what this video is about. Those things are obviously very important, and taxes are needed to pay those things, right? But what I'm talking about is the complexity of the actual tax paying process, right? I could very easily see in the future that you're going to have an AI that works in conjunction with TurboTax that all of a sudden is offering you a much reduction or much bigger reduction in the complexity of taxes. Now, I couldn't do taxes without TurboTax, right? But just imagine an AI, a tax consultant, let's say that would cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars. I obviously can't afford that, but it's distilled into the compactness of AI. So anyway, in a very real sense, the playing field is getting much more even between the ultra wealthy and the middle class. The complexity is able, through AI and artificial tools, the complexity is able to be reduced. Now, and here's the big question. I kind of want to end it with this. Is it going to stay this way? Are they going to allow little old Sterling Nixon to pay $20 a month and have access to all the 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 tools that reduce the complexity of my life? Thinking about it, and I'd love to hear what your comments are about this. I'd say no. I don't think it's going to be allowed to exist. These these sort of moments where the playing field have been leveled have come into existence with technology, but there usually is a stratification, essentially a K shape of where the ultra wealthy eventually get more wealthy and the middle class stays where they are or even gets less less wealthy. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I could very well see that AI and AI tools will have some stratification at some point where all of a sudden instead of $20 a month, it's $100 a month, then $200 a month, then $1,000 a month. Well, if it's maybe 100, maybe two, I'd be willing to pay. It isn't. They are some the most amazing tools out there. 1,000, I'm out of the market, right? And now who has access to these tools? So this is just food for thought. This isn't anything that any stance that I'm trying to come out with and talking about. This was just a very interesting conversation that I had with someone. Really got my mind thinking. I do like thinking about these things. I have no idea um, how you all are going to receive it, like it, dislike it. We'll see if we get any likes on this video. But I thought I'd share it with you anyway. Anyway, take care. I'll talk to you later.